Right, I'm letting people in.
So, one second.
Uh-oh. There's the boss. That's always a good sign.
You better do well, Chris. I'm watching.
If I knew you were going to register for this, I'd say, well, just let Mark do it. And
Pretty sure I said Chris is the man.
All right. We'll give everyone a few minutes. We got a bunch of people joining right now, and we'll get started. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Indiana Housing Policy and Housing Dashboard 101. I'm Stephanie Wells. I'm the president of the Indiana Fiscal Policy Institute. We also have our chairman, Mark Fisher, on. Thanks for joining us today, Mark. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. We are recording this presentation. We will make Chris's presentation and this recording available to everybody after the fact. Let me let a few more people in. If you could stay muted until the presentations are over, then we can have a lively Q&A. If during the presentation you have a question, you can either ask the question in the chat or you can raise your hand. So we do want this to be collaborative and we want it to be a discussion. We just don't want everyone talking over each other. Okay. And then I think that is all. If you will go ahead and get started. So, our two speakers today are Chris Watts from the Indiana Association of Realtors and Stephen Enns from the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. And I'm going to let these fine gentlemen introduce themselves and get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. So Stephanie mentioned Mark being on the call. Mark is also my boss at the Association of Realtors. So please, everyone, lob me a few softballs and help me look good. For the purposes of this, I'd appreciate it. So I'm here to talk a little bit about some of the data resources that we at the Association of Realtors offer to our members, but also to the public and policymakers such as yourselves that could help influence regional and local housing policy, working through your local realtor association. And Stephen, I don't know if you want to take a couple minutes to introduce yourself, and then I'll dive into a few slides.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see so many people on the call. Yes, I'm Stephen Enns from the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. I've been working in the real estate department for the past 7 years. Last 5 or 6 years, working specifically on data and policy, um, which just supports everything else that we do in terms of real estate development and compliance and housing choice vouchers and so forth. The dashboard was created about 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm looking forward to doing a little test drive with you this morning after Chris gives you a little bit of the lay of the land. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. And I will share my screen here and walk through just few slides to just provide a little background on what we are seeing in the housing and real estate market, heading into 2026. So a quick look back at last year in real estate statewide. We had a year of positive growth. Mortgage rates stayed well above 6% most of the year, but there was some improvement versus 2023 and 2024, clearly. So we saw home sales statewide grow by about 2%. New listings were up about 5%. And that helped the overall supply of homes for sale, which is always a critical issue for our members. Also have a pretty significant jump. So our inventory was positive. Our median sale price continued to rise. Home prices across Indiana have been on the increase now since 2013. So a dozen straight years of price appreciation, and including a 5% year over year from 24 to 25. So we're up to about $267,000 as the median sale price of a single family home in Indiana. So again, we saw rates drop, during the summer, and then more dramatically at the end of the year, which combined with more options on the market, brought more buyers back and led to that uptick in sales activity. But as you see from this chart, we've still got a long way to go in terms of recovering even to the level of sales activity that we saw pre-pandemic. Since the Fed began their tightening cycle back in early 2022, and rates past that 6%, 7% threshold, we've seen a pretty dramatic decline, and home sales are still sort of back around 2015 levels on a statewide basis. That cooling off of demand has brought our at least rate of price increase down back into sort of a more normal range, back in that hyper competitive sort of supercharged market of 2020, 21, 22. You see we were seeing double digit price increases annually, and we haven't seen prices fall as they have in some markets across the country, and Florida, Texas, Colorado, California over the past year, which is a good thing. We want home values to continue to stay positive, continue to rise. But we're at least seeing prices fall back into that normal range in terms of annualized appreciation. So who were our home buyers last year? So according to our data, we are seeing many fewer first-time buyers in 2025, and this sort of continues the trend from 2024. And you see this chart shows home sales year-over-year comparisons from 24 to 25, and you see that all of our net positive growth in home sales came above $250,000, and most notably above $350,000 to $1 million was sort of our sharpest percentage increase, I think by about 14%. And that implies that these are repeat buyers, these are homeowners who are sort of leveraging the proceeds from their previous sale into a higher budget, looking to purchase their next home. So we're seeing folks staying in their homes longer, especially as rates have increased. Folks are sort of being more thoughtful and deliberative about, giving up that pre-2022 mortgage rate before they make that decision to move. So we're seeing folks staying, into that 7 to 10 year range in their current home before sort of making that move. That was the most active cohort of sellers in 2025, and that's a market change from sort of that pandemic market of 2020 to 2022, where we saw a higher share of short-term sellers, folks who were in their homes less than 6 years before moving on. So these are folks who are continuing to build equity in those extra years of tenure. We think about sort of who's the typical home seller in 2025, staying in their home about 7 years. So if they bought back in 2018, for example, the median sale price back then was about $168,000. So they have realized on a statewide basis a little over 6% annual real price appreciation over those years, and are walking away with more than $100,000 in equity if they choose to sell, if they chose to sell last year. So that certainly drives them to be able to make that next home purchase at that higher budget, and unfortunately sort of squeezing out some of those first-time buyers who still really bear the brunt of those higher rates, and prices continuing to increase. So, important to folks on this call, again, I mentioned before, we did see inventory increase, and the number of homes for sale has continued to rise since mortgage rates started to rise back in 2022. But it's notable to mention that, we're still about 12% below where we were in 2019 when it comes to the average number of homes for sale across Indiana. And you look further back, back in 2015, there were about 37,000 homes for sale on an average day across our MLS marketplaces. Last year, that number was just under 16,000 homes for sale. So Indiana's continued to grow. We've led the Great Lakes states in population growth. We've added almost 200,000 owner-occupied households over that decade, but the inventory of homes for sale has been cut in half effectively. And you see how that plays out on a county by county basis. The counties in the red and pink are counties with less available inventory in 2025 than was available back in 2019. And you see that, while there's some variation there, clearly some suburban counties are actually have more homes for sale, but most of the state is in that red, and it includes many of our fastest growing counties. So, we have created, what we call our IAR Housing Hub to provide statewide MLS data to our members on an on-demand basis, and we have made some of these reports also available to the public and to policymakers like yourselves. So if you go to data.indianarealtors.com, you will be able to access on a monthly basis updated real estate data from your county, the township, zip code level. We struggle a bit with municipal borders just because of annexations and changes over time. So we're still trying to sort of deal with that, but we have ready regions built into the hub, metro areas. So we do offer a variety of geographies that you can pull data from. I can show some of the reports here. We have a chatbot feature that you can simply ask, pose a question about how the market is doing in your area, and it'll synthesize and summarize the data for you. We also, on an annual basis, put out sort of a trending map that shows price appreciation based on the previous year's sales in sort of half-mile increments. And frankly, this was our attempt to help our members explain to their clients what they might be seeing in their property assessments when they look at their trending changes in their tax assessments. This gives them a snapshot of comparable sales over the previous year, at least within a half mile of their home, so they can look at do those transactions and that sort of median price increase on a per square foot basis sort of match what they're seeing on their property tax bills. And finally, I will say that we're also getting into the business of offering more in-depth projections of housing supply and anticipated housing demand to our local officials. We're creating sort of 5-year projections of what you're seeing in terms of current permitting, population and employment growth, and what that means for future anticipated housing need, and what construction and development would need to do to keep up with demand, and also incorporating estimates of housing loss. We know that we have on an average basis older housing stock than the rest of the nation across many of our counties. And so we lose a certain number of units every year to just disrepair, and structural degradation. So we account for that as well. But we're able to produce these reports, at the county level, and we would be happy to help in your community create these reports. We only ask that you sort of approach that, maybe work through your local realtor association, which you can scan on the screen now. And again, these slides will be distributed after the fact. But go through your local realtor association and make that request, and we can help create one of these supply and demand reports for your local area. And if we have a couple more minutes, I can go ahead and show.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I can go ahead and show the Housing Hub here. And what you'll see, again, when you go to data.indianarealtors.com, probably the easiest way to access it is just to go to the map here on the home page, pull up a county, and you can actually see your market dashboard. Say for Jefferson County, say you're in Madison, and you want to see what's been happening. You get sales, current price data, the percent of the list price that sellers are getting, sort of a measure of bargaining power or balance in the market. You can look at weekly or monthly reports, long-term trends, which is sort of a 5-year snapshot of the market. We've got a new report on housing affordability, where you can see listings that are available at certain price points. And you can also take a deeper dive. And this is a statewide report into new listings by price, by construction, by type of housing, whether you're looking at single family or townhomes, condos. So again, a lot of transactional data available here that we make available to our members and through our associations to all of you, that we hope you'll take advantage of as you look at your zoning, land use, development policies. If you are looking to seek out state funding, potentially the residential infrastructure funding that's now available through the Indiana Finance Authority. This was very active when we were looking at Ready grants and other resources that are out there, putting together a housing strategy. We are certainly here ready and willing to be a resource for all of you. And I will say, I also pulled up here, this is just another example. This is the Clark County housing supply and demand brief that we put together for folks down there. So again, this is the sort of thing that we can produce for your local area, just given that request through your local realtor association. And with that, I should probably turn things over to Stephen. I'm happy to take questions now or save them to the end. But again, those are some of the tools that we bring to the table, and we certainly want to be more engaged with local officials, either elected redevelopment commissions, economic development organizations. We want to be good partners in supplying this data as much as possible. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. Stephen.
Sure. Well, good morning again, everyone. Chris, thank you for that. I would like to say that there is a little bit of overlap in the data that Chris and I are sharing this morning, but we are by no means competing with each other. I hope to think that the dashboards that he shared and what I will show you are complementary to each other. Ours primarily focuses on information that would be used by community developers, whether those are for-profit developers, whether those are community-based organizations, but also local units of government. And so I'm going to just dive right in by sharing my screen. I have simply typed in indianahousingdashboard.com. And as soon as that pops up, you'll see the home screen of the dashboard. Chris, nod your head if you're seeing my screen now. Okay, thank you. And as I march through this, I'm going to give a little shout out to Marie Morse of Homestead Resources in West Lafayette. She is one, and they are a group that we have worked with in the past with a variety of programs through IHCDA. And by knowing that she was in the audience, that simply gives me a specific locale, a specific geography to focus on. So I'm going to focus on Lafayette and West Lafayette. So the landing page just looks like this. You'll probably start with, actually, you'll probably not start with Adams County. You'll probably start with a view of Indiana if you are a first-time user. And what I want to point out real quickly, this little, what looks like a stoplight and an Indiana logo in the upper left-hand corner is the home button. So if you get lost or you want to come right back to this, click on that, takes you right back to here. The dashboard starts out with 5 tabs, which are population statistics, housing supply statistics, rental affordability, a look at employment, and a look at home ownership. And just the basic layout is that on each one of those tabs, there are 5 to 10 different charts, which give you a longitudinal look, basically the last 10 or 11, maybe 12 years of how those statistics have changed in the particular area. So there's Indiana stats. If I'm interested in West Lafayette, I just go into here and find West Lafayette, and everything changes to be specific for that little region of the world, right? And so we see you'll see lots of blips in 2020. Population over time, 2020 peaked at 50,000-ish and dropped to 44,005 in that 1-year period until 2021, and has stayed relatively steady since then. If you look at the percentage change, you'll notice also a very strong increase up through 2020 and then a drop off. What you'll also notice on that chart is a default comparison to basically the next largest geography. And the US Census has these things called the metro areas. And so West Lafayette is part of Lafayette, West Lafayette, and the Indy metro area. And so the blue index has to do with that metro area. And you see that the population there has remained a lot steadier, which might indicate there was a little bit of movement from West Lafayette into the other area, into the greater area, specifically in that 2020 to 2021 time period. And I'm not going to take a lot of time with each one of these charts, but I'll just show you that there is information about median household income and how that has changed over time. This is a moment in time look, 2023, which has race and ethnicity information. There's information about owners versus renters. There's information about poverty rate, information about income bands and how that has changed over time. That's just local demographics. Share of population and their educational attainment, and a little information about broadband and access to that, which of course is huge in terms of people's access to information, job opportunities, and education. Also on that page is a map that there are a few bits that we show you a graphic representation of. If you click on the first, you see a heat map of median income. And if you hover, you'll get specific information for by census tract, I believe. Yeah, these are all by census tract. If you go to population growth, you'll see here's an area with negative growth. Here's an area with positive growth, both at about 16. 16 to the negative, 16 to the positive. And population density, no surprise there. And Marie, I should be looking at Lafayette instead of West Lafayette, huh? But you have a pretty good guess as to what's going on right here in that darkest, most dense of the population. So that's the first page. That's population. Then we can look at housing supply, and things are broken out by the type of housing, whether that's single family or multifamily, vacancy stats, the building permits that have been issued over time. This is very sketchy across the state. Some counties and some localities track their building permits very well. Others don't even have building permits. You're just allowed to build whatever you might like. Here's an interesting ratio of new jobs per home. And this shows West Lafayette is doing very well at 7.39 new jobs for every one new housing permit. That's great in terms of employment. That's not so good in terms of housing. And homes built by decade, you'll see much of the state where housing built prior to 1940 or prior to 1950 is really the predominant age and era of housing. West Lafayette has a whole lot more than most of the rest of the state. And with that in mind, I want to move pretty quickly into a comparison view. But before I do, I'll just say that we have statistics on rental affordability, the median rent, and how that has increased over time. I am gonna switch to Lafayette. And so we have the increase in the rental price. That's not a big surprise. And in the past 7 years, the median rental price has gone from 1,000 up to just shy of 15. Sorry, yeah, 1,000 up to, well, that says 1182. That's for the metro area. For Lafayette, just shy of $1,200 per month. We have renter cost burden percentages for various segments of the population, and a total cost burden rate and severely cost burdened, which is paying over 50%, being severely cost burdened, paying over 50% or more of your income on housing costs. So that gives a pretty good lay of the land. Evictions and foreclosures information is provided only on the county level. So we have an empty spot in the chart right there. But if we go to Tippecanoe and scroll back down, our evictions took I was going to say we had a moratorium, and so we would have seen a very steep drop back in 2020 and early 2021 when those moratoria lifted, probably mid to late 2022, that's when we see the rise. And finally, we have jobs information, unemployment versus total employment, median earnings, the top wage earners by occupation, and in terms of income required, total income required to be able to achieve or to rent at the affordable median rent. And finally, home ownership statistics. And that's heartening to see that homeownership rate has remained steady over the course of the past 10 years. It's gone a little bit up and down in Tippecanoe. But this on the right is no surprise. We see that the median home values have risen dramatically in Indiana from just over 120,000 up to just over 200,000. So a little bit more than a 50% increase in that amount of time. So let me move along. I'm going to move to this comparison view. And if you are situated in Lafayette, that might be your primary focus. But you can come over here and say, well, I do want to compare Lafayette to the county as a whole. And while I'm at it, why don't I compare that also to the state? And then if I'm feeling competitive, I want to see just what else is going around in another area of the state. And so real quickly, you can put up on the screen comparisons for 4 or 5. I wouldn't recommend more than 4 or 5 because then the chart gets very, very busy very quickly. But we can see Indiana is the most steady, the black line kind of through the middle. Tippecanoe is the top line. Lafayette is the lighter blue, second from the top. And Bloomington is the more royal blue, kind of down in the middle, which takes a bit of a dive in 21 and 22. And so in that comparison view, you have exactly the same 5 tabs and nearly all the same charts. And I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not prepared to do analysis of any particular area, but I just want to show you this as the tool. So in the comparison view, you can click through to housing supply, rental affordability, jobs, and homeownership as well. There are 2 other pieces of the dashboard which have really we've really made them much more robust in the past couple of years. The first thing is that we have this orange button up and over to the right called Generate a Full Report. If you click that, you'll get a housing needs assessment in a very short amount of time. That was about 2 or 3 seconds. And you have an online version of that at your fingertips. And there are something between 80 and 100 data points available. It does take a little bit longer to load than it did just to but if you look on the left, there's a menu of all the charts which provide the full housing needs assessment. And if you go over here to the upper right where it says download, you can click there and get a PDF report. And that is available for your use. There is no charge. There is no copyright. The download of that PDF takes a little bit longer, but you can cut and paste from that PDF. You can use it for your research. You can use it to gain support. You can talk to your legislators, however you feel that it is best used. And I'll show you that in just a moment. That one is taking just a little bit longer. While that loads, I'm going to go back to the home page And the ribbon up at the top, it says take action. And on that take action section of the website, there are 4 or 5 tabs, if you will, which provide guidance to community development corporations, to the local units of government, or to the developers in terms of making contact, gaining support, doing the research in terms of zoning, and permitting and so forth. And this provides what we hope is a very good detailed plan of action and set of guidelines for how to make it through the development process. So
Hey,
first
Steve,
is,
we
yes,
we have a
Stephanie.
question in the chat, and I wanted to
Oh,
ask
yeah.
it while you were in here. It's from Amy. Evictions data was through 2024. Do you update that yearly?
I actually get that quarterly. That comes from the Office of the Courts. And I sort of process that, just put it into a legible format and pass that along to our contractor who maintains the dashboard. Um, I'm not sure what happened to the latest update, but I am scheduled to do an end of 2025 update and send that off shortly.
Okay.
Amy, I'll be in touch when I have that. But no, we actually get those stats basically quarterly.
Okay. And then under the homeownership tab, did the hub used
Yes.
to have homeownership rates broken out by race and ethnicity? And is that still there?
Let's see real quickly. Some things have changed since the last time I was in here. There's owner cost burden by race and ethnicity. It seems that's the only piece that's broken out by race and ethnicity.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm. And so this PDF of the housing, I'm sorry, I'm jumping right back to where we were a moment ago. The housing needs assessment is now up and available. And it says there's 180 pages that look something like this. So I would invite you to to choose your geography and flip through and just see how nice that reading is and see how well these charts describe the area that you're most interested in. A lot of this is the same information, which you can get on the main pages of the website, but some of it is very detailed and additional to what you would find. And so I'm going to leave that alone, just so that you know. Click on that orange button over to the right, generate a full report, and you can download the PDF. And then I'd like to go right back real quickly to take action and just say there's learn about housing plans, exploring the role of local government and other housing policies and programs, making sure that you use the data that is available to help you to set your priorities and make decisions. So your goals might be to accommodate growth, to prevent displacement, to increase access to opportunity, reduce racial disparity, increase housing supply, and expand access to home ownership. Those are the 6 that we've chosen. And then there are some additional resources. Fair Housing Center of Central Indiana, Amy, you're there. How about that? So that is a very brief, that's about as quick of a test drive of the dashboard as I think I can give. And at that, I'll turn it back over to Stephanie. But yeah, if you have questions for Chris or for me, we are open to those questions now.
Hey, participants. So I think we can dispense with using the chat. If you want to unmute and ask a question, feel free. We've got a lot of people on here. Yep, William.
Hi, good morning. Thank you again for this presentation. This question is for Chris. Would you mind reviewing again how one would request that brief you had mentioned through the IAR tool?
Sure. And I can say that you could reach out to us directly, but we try to route as much as possible through our local partners. So I can pop this back onto the screen here. Sorry. If you scan the QR code that should now be on your screen, it'll take you to our website where you can just use the drop-down menu to find your local association and contact information, and just send a request through that local to get all that information.
And William will be sending you Chris's presentation, so you'll have this QR code with you.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyone else? This is a lot of great information. I think before you get in there, it's kind of hard to know what questions you might have. Clearly, Amy'd been in the dashboard before, so she had some pertinent questions. So I have a question, Stephen, on the labor market and the jobs data. How often
Yes.
do you update that, and what specific? Because I couldn't see in any great detail. I have too many things open on my side. How old is that data? How often do you update it? Can you dig into that a little bit?
Um, yes, we're at the mercy of the agencies that provide the data. What we do show right now for unemployment is coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they had a bit of a blip in their reporting,
A kerfuffle, if you will. Yes.
perhaps mid to late 2025, but they caught back up in terms of unemployment statistics. So at that, they're relatively close to up to date. They are not real time. Across most of the dashboard, we use an awful lot of the American Community Survey and the U.S. Census Bureau, and typically we're about 1 year behind. Right now, it looks like there's a little bit of a lag. We should have 2024 data for both of those. For American Community Survey is part of the Census Bureau, but I'm showing just 2023. So I think we need to run an update.
The Census Bureau, during the federal furlough, the Census Bureau data was not available in many cases, so that might have been it. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the bit of data that you want, how detailed that might be.
Okay, thank you. Amy said she loves the print to report download option. Thank you.
Very good. You bet.
Do we have any other questions? Looks like no. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Like I said, you'll be getting all of this information, and you'll have Chris and Steven's contact information. So I hope that with both of these dashboards, you spend some time and dig in, and then see where you might need some assistance. I think these are some great information tools for folks. That's free. I think this is so impressive. Fun fact, I used to work at the IHCDA many moons ago, and we never had this level of detail. So this is fantastic. So this is really, really exciting, and I'm so glad that you were all able to attend and learn about this information that's available to you free of charge through the good work of these two gentlemen. Um, Wonderful. Well, everyone, thank you again for attending our webinar today. Thank you for your support of the IFPI. I'll be sending you information later today, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks so much. Enjoy the snowy, cold day, and be safe and warm.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thanks all.